Hey, it's been a while. Okay, so I know it's been a couple months, but like, I think I have a good explanation. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out where to look at the camera. So if I'm like looking back and forth, don't worry about it. But yeah, I think I have a good explanation. I think, so whenever I started this channel, it was like October, I think, when I first like filmed the Judith Barcy video, and I kind of forgot about it. If I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I forgot I posted anything because I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with the shirt right now, but sorry. I also just have never had like a schedule. I was kind of like just going with the flow, and I don't think that's something you should do whenever you start a YouTube channel. And I've got just a lot going on. With that being said, I think I have figured out a schedule now that I actually know what I'm doing with school. Like, I'm doing sorry, I keep saying like. It's kind of weird just talking to my phone camera in a quiet room. But today's case that I actually just typed up, well, I had my mom type it up, because this case is actually something that I'm almost positive you've never heard unless you're in the Mississippi, Tennessee area, maybe even Mexico, because those were the states that were really mentioned in this case at any point. And so unless you live in those states or have lived around those states around 2006 era, then you may have heard it, but I can almost guarantee you that some of you have not, or most of you guys have not heard this case. And that's what kind of wanted me, or that's kind of what inspired me to talk about this case, because no one really has heard it, and I think that any case deserves to be heard. And there's actually not a whole bunch of evidence that regards this case. And every product that I use on my face, I will try to put in the description, because I don't want to like just like be putting something on my face and be like, oh yeah, this is what happened, this is what happened, you know. I want the sole focus to be on the case mainly, even though I am doing my makeup, I'm doing something. That's why I didn't do my makeup on the other video, but you know, it's okay. Stephanie Smith was 22 at the time of this case. She was born April 17th, 1984. She worked at a local casino in bordering Mississippi. The casino was called Horseshoe Casino, right? Yeah, Horseshoe Casino. And she worked mainly with like catering for room service and at events. Her husband was named James Smith, but he went by Jamie, like everyone called him Jamie. They met in high school, and they were high school sweethearts. Jamie was known or described to me apparently like more laid back, more quiet. He was kind of chill, I guess, according to friends. And they were married by November 7th, 2003. Stephanie worked at Horseshoe Lake for years, and again, she worked mainly with catering, and she she worked with catering, room service, and catered at events, and she was a good worker, and she rarely ever called in sick, or especially like no call, no show. Like, she never really did that. And so whenever she did, it set off alarm bells for people, and it was kind of suspicious. People got worried, and I don't know how close they were, but a friend of Stephanie's called her mom, Samantha. Once Gary had expressed his concerns to Samantha, she immediately had reported her missing, and she hadn't like talked to her in a few days, but it wasn't like it was abnormal for them to go a few days without talking. But because she hadn't gone into work, and it was like a no call, no show sort of thing, it set off alarm bells for her. And whenever she did report Stephanie missing, she also went and reported Jamie missing, because Jamie wouldn't answer his phone or like the door to their duplex in Memphis, Tennessee, I do believe, southwest Memphis, Tennessee, I think it was. And so she reported him missing. Jamie was 23 at the time. Stephanie was 22. And whenever she went to their duplex, she also went to the other side of the duplex, because Jamie's uncle, Larry Mosley, had lived on the other side of the duplex. Like, it was like a two-way duplex, I guess. And he hadn't seen or heard from them in like a couple days. So yeah, like, no one had heard from them, and their car was not in the driveway. The last people to see Jamie and Stephanie were their friends, and that was 2 days before Stephanie had no call, no showed at work, and they had been over at these friends' apartment and had stayed till midnight. And the police had cleared these two of foul play or any these two were not on the police's suspicions list. They had cleared them pretty quickly. The police had cleared these two already, so these two weren't involved with anything really. I don't know how involved they were after that, but this is the only time that these two friends were ever mentioned. Days later, Samantha and her sister had gone to Larry's duplex, which, again, it was Jamie. Larry is Jamie's uncle. They had gone over to his duplex to see if they could find any clues, because, again, he had lived on the other side of Jamie. His duplex was on the other side of Jamie and Stephanie's duplex, so it made sense for them to go investigate and see if they could find any clues or anything of the sorts. I don't think that he was on their radar at that point. I don't know how quickly he became a suspect, at least to Samantha or whatever, but yeah. So that day, again, they go to his duplex and ask if they can check his duplex for any evidence or like any sign that they were ever there sooner than 2 days, because at that point no one had seen them at that point, before this point, no one had seen them in at least like 2 or 3 days, because again, the last they were seen was at last Jamie and Stephanie were seen was at those friends' apartment, and that was 2 days before the no call, no showed. I'm not sure how many like days had passed by the time they went to go see what Larry's apartment looked like, check for anything. I don't know where he was on their suspect list. There was not a whole bunch of evidence to go on again, because there wasn't much about this case online. I could only find like 2 or 3 articles. So whenever they asked Larry to let them look in his apartment, see if they can find anything, any clues if they had been there. Again, I don't think that he was really on their suspect list. It could have just been to see if they had gone there like in fear, or if they were there sooner than 2 days before she no called, no showed, to see if they were anywhere else other than that. And he was like, yeah, come on in. Again, he was like, yeah, come on in. But Samantha had noted something very odd with his behavior whenever they went in his apartment. And it was the thing that she noted that was kind of weird to her was that he followed like really close behind them wherever they went in his duplex. And like it was practically like he was hovering over them. Like it wasn't like he was a couple feet away. He was basically hovering over them, and that obviously that would spark some type of radar in anybody. And I do believe it was right after she had left the apartment that she had actually told investigators about his behavior. But it didn't really do too much, because soon after, I don't know how soon, I don't know exactly when, but soon after, Larry had actually gone like missing. Like they tried to contact him. They don't know where he went. And his truck is nowhere to be seen. His truck's not in the driveway. So obviously he had left the duplex. Either that or someone took his truck. But he wasn't answering it. I guess he wasn't answering the door to his duplex or anything like that. So that's suspicious, you know. You get a report from somebody that you're being a little suspicious, and then you go missing. So obviously, he's number 1 suspect at this point. My guess. I'm pretty sure actually there was an article that was like, yeah, he's number 1 suspect at this point. I think the article said that he was like, from the beginning he was a little suspicious. But I mean, I would get why he would be like a suspect before, given he was literally in the next duplex over. And because he wouldn't have heard from them or seen them, that means they wouldn't have been in their duplex at all. Or they were really quiet about it. A few more days had passed, and investigators finally found the bodies. Or they had found bodies. They hadn't yet, at this point, they had not confirmed who they were, but they did know that it was a male and a female, and they were both young. What kind of just there's no other way it could be anyone else but Jamie and Stephanie is the fact that they were the bodies were wrapped in plastic and basically in the wall of Larry's duplex. So let me try to kind of explain. He had built a wall in front of his attic door and had put the bodies, wrapped the bodies in plastic and had put them behind the door, or behind the wall, basically. Now, I'm not sure whenever they did identify the bodies, I'm not sure exactly what the timeline was from that, but I'm guessing it was pretty quickly given it was on Larry's side of the duplex and that they were male and female and young. And phone records actually show that Jamie had called Larry multiple times. And I do believe it was like the day before he was murdered. I could be completely wrong. After a couple of hours, where's my brush? After a couple of hours, phone records also show that Stephanie had called Jamie. And like multiple times. There were theories that like arose from these phone records. The theories are that Jamie called Larry and then went over to Larry's side of the duplex. A couple hours later, he hadn't come home. Stephanie called Jamie's phone. He never answered and then went over to Larry's apartment. Nothing was ever confirmed about what happened. It will more than likely never be confirmed, and that's just kind of reality of things. As the investigation goes on, they found in footage with Stephanie in her car with an unknown male, and she withdrawed $5,000. And so obviously that's kind of weird. Why would you need $5,000? It's not like it's a specific number or anything, because it's not too specific, but theories would arise from that. And the theory was that Larry was in the car with Stephanie and wanted $5,000 ransom, or else he would kill Jamie. So she was going to withdraw money from the bank and in order to spare Jamie's life. But again, nothing was ever confirmed from this, so this is just a theory. I don't know if this was a theory or whether it was confirmed, but apparently like Jamie owed Larry money, and that kind of also arose with that. So maybe, I don't know, I don't want to assume, like, I don't want to assume anything, especially with like unsolved cases and especially cases like this. So I don't know, I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself. Not that they're bad opinions, but they're just my own theories, and I don't want to assume, especially if like the police never like said it. But I don't know. So after that, the manhunt for Larry Mosley spread wide and far, and it spread like all across Mississippi and Tennessee. There were even talks that he was headed west or even south to Mexico, and they tried to contact his family, but from what police suspected, or from what people suspected, is that they knew things but didn't want to say anything. Like, they refused to cooperate with the police, even though their own relative was murdered. Like, that's kind of what kind of makes me mad, is that, I get it, you love people unconditionally, but there's also a point where you kind of need to, like, open your mouth instead of keeping it shut. And I just said I was going to keep my mouth shut and not say my opinions on the matter. But, I think that that's something that everyone would agree on, is that even though that I don't know. Honestly, I can't really say too much because I don't know what would have happened. I don't know what I would do if they were looking for like my sister or my family member and apparently they had killed someone. I don't know whether I probably wouldn't cover it up, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you. But obviously given the circumstances, like, it's not even like it was really an accident. I don't think that really, if it was an accident, he would have fled. But, you know, I don't know. It kind of seemed intentional, given the evidence. Oh, and I forgot to say, the cause of death for Jamie and Stephanie was blunt force trauma, or like, it was like bludgeoned or something. I don't really know how to say it. I've never heard that word in my life, and my eyelashes are not cooperating. But they were like bludgeoned, which is basically another word for blunt force trauma. But all the police know is that they were hit in the head hard, like that's how they died, basically. I don't know whether they were actually hit with an actual bludgeon, which is like, from what I saw, or from what like the definition from Google gave me, it's like this like thick like rod type thing with a weight, like a weighted thing on top of it. I don't know, maybe I can find a picture of one and I'll put it on the screen. Eventually, Larry and his father were spotted headed to Mississippi from Murfreesboro, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Given that information, police suspected that they would be headed to Samantha's house or somewhere around there. And so, because of that, they set up a roadblock between where they were headed and Samantha's house. The reason for where they were headed was never confirmed, whether it was for malicious intent or maybe even to surrender. But the reason will never be confirmed. Hold on, I'm gonna do my makeup. I'm gonna finish my lip because it's hard to talk while doing lip combos. So I'm gonna finish my lip and I'll be right back. As I was saying, the reason for them going where they were suspected to be going is unknown, whether it was for malicious intent or whether it was to surrender. And it will never be confirmed because as they were headed to the roadblock, they had guns in the car. And they didn't stop, and then a full-blown out shootout had erupted, and their car had crashed, and it was confirmed that the crash isn't what killed them, it was their bullet wounds. Forensics show that the bullets that killed Larry and his father did not belong to the police's guns. Like, it was not the same bullets that were in the cops' guns. It was the bullets that were in Larry's father's gun. Meaning, Larry's dad had shot Larry and himself, is what we can determine from it. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of different theories that could be coming from it, whether Larry stole his dad's gun, shot both of them, or shot his dad, then himself. But what we can suspect from this is that Larry's dad had shot Larry and then had shot himself. It was never confirmed what Larry's father's involvement was in this whole thing, and why he just he was there, like he wasn't involved and then he was, or I don't know how much involvement he was in, but it was never confirmed whether he was like kind of just along for the ride or whether he was like covering up or Larry's dad helped with the murders. It was never confirmed on what his involvement was. And there's still so many secrets that will exist due to their deaths. And it will never be answered, and they will remain unanswered forever. Thank you guys for watching this video. That concludes this case. It's definitely taken a lot of like courage to post this, if this does get posted, because I am a little bit afraid to post this video, because I mean everything with the utmost respect. That's why I really wanted to keep my mouth shut, like, as far as like opinions, because usually like with the Judith Barcy case, I kind of threw in little opinions about like why this happened, why Maria never like never followed through with CPS files. Yeah, it could have saved Judith's life, but you know, I would tend to put opinions about that out there, but with this case I'm kind of afraid, because I don't want to offend anybody in general. Like, that's the last thing I ever want to do. Like, if you know me personally, you know I never mean to offend anybody on any level. But especially with this case, since it is like, since my mom was friends with Stephanie, it's kind of a different feeling, and there's a little bit more, like, I guess, fear when it comes to it, because I don't want, by putting this video out there, I don't want it to be just another reminder, because with a lot of these cases, like, they've been talked about so often that it kind of doesn't, you know, I don't know. I guess I should probably feel this way about reviewing any case, because it is a constant reminder, like with cases like they're so talked about, like Ted Bundy's and Jeffrey Dahmer's, John Benet Ramsey. Their family is possibly still out there. I know John Benet's family is still out there, but I don't know. It's a different feeling whenever it's more of a local case and it's not really talked about, because this is just yet another reminder that this happened. But yeah, I do believe this case happened. I don't think I ever mentioned like the date. I do believe it was like March 17th, 2006. So I don't think I ever mentioned the date of this case, but if I didn't, there it is. And yeah, so again, I mean everything that I've ever said with the utmost respect, and I hope that you guys like, I hope that like you guys enjoyed it, but also I feel like it's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I always feel bad like saying, hey, subscribe, like it. No, turn the notification bell, because that kind of like, it kind of comes off as I'm like doing this all for views, but I'm not. I genuinely just enjoy researching cases, and I do feel like a lot of these cases deserve the recognition, and that they deserve to be told, and that it kind of gives the victims a voice where they can't voice it, you know, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.